I reported my boss after he forced me to attend a meeting despite knowing I was in labor. I was 38 weeks pregnant and working as a project manager at this marketing company downtown. My boss Derek had always been a control freak, but I thought he'd at least have some common sense when it came to basic human decency. Last Wednesday morning, I started having contractions around 9 a.m. They weren't super close together yet, but they were definitely real. I'd been through this before with my first kid, so I knew what was happening. I went to Derek's office and told him I was having contractions and might need to leave for the hospital soon. He barely looked up from his computer and said, "Okay, just make sure you finish the Henderson presentation first." I explained that I was literally going into labor and the presentation could wait. He finally looked at me and said, "Look, the client meeting is at 2 p.m. You've been working on this for weeks. Can't you just power through it? Power through labor." Like it was a headache or something. By noon, my contractions were getting stronger and closer together. I was gripping my desk every few minutes trying to breathe through them. My coworker Lisa kept asking if she should call someone, but I was still hoping I could wrap things up and get to the hospital. At 1:30, Derek came over to my desk where I was literally panting through a contraction. He said, "Conference room now, the Henderson people just arrived early." I told him I needed to go to the hospital immediately. My contractions were 4 minutes apart and getting intense. He actually rolled his eyes and said, "You're not even screaming yet. My sister was in labor for 18 hours. You can handle 2 more. I was so shocked I actually got up and followed him to the conference room. Looking back, I think I was just in survival mode and not thinking clearly because of the pain. The meeting started and I'm sitting there trying to smile and present marketing strategies while having contractions every 3 minutes. The clients kept asking if I was okay because I'd stopped talking mid-sentence and grip the table. Derek would jump in and say I was just really passionate about the project. At one point, I had such a strong contraction that I actually groaned out loud. One of the clients suggested maybe we should reschedule, but Derek insisted we finish up. 20 minutes into the meeting, my water broke, right there in the conference room chair. I felt this warm gush and knew exactly what happened. The clients were staring at me in horror while Derek's face went completely white. I stood up, looked Derek right in the eye, and said, "I'm going to the hospital now, and then I'm calling HR and a lawyer." My husband met me at the emergency entrance, and our son was born 3 hours later. While I was still in the hospital bed holding my newborn baby, I called HR and filed a formal complaint. I explained everything that happened, how Derek ignored my medical emergency, forced me to work through active labor, and put both me and my baby at risk. The HR director was horrified and said they'd investigate immediately. 2 days later, Derek was fired. Turns out this wasn't his first incident of ignoring employee health issues. 3 other people came forward with their own stories about him forcing sick workers to stay and ignoring doctors' notes. The company also paid for my entire hospital bill and gave me an extra month of paid maternity leave. They implemented a new policy that any employee can leave immediately for medical emergencies without manager approval. The best part? That Henderson client contract we were so desperate to close, they canceled it anyway after hearing what happened. They said they didn't want to work with a company that treated pregnant employees like that. Derek tried to fight his termination, but the company had security footage of him forcing a woman in active labor to give a presentation. His lawyer basically told him to accept the severance package and keep quiet. I went back to work 4 months later to find that Derek had been replaced by Lisa, who immediately told me to take whatever time I needed for doctor appointments and never questioned anyone's medical needs. My son is 6 months old now, healthy and perfect. And Derek, last I heard, he was working at some tiny startup making half what he used to earn.